Today on the Topping Show, Star Wars have a transgender clone trooper complete with a trans flag. Tim Walz' hunting blunder includes fumbling a shotgun on video. The department adjusted its suing states for removing illegals from voting rolls. Kamala flops on a sex podcast. California blocks SpaceX launch over Elon's political tweets as further lawfare expands. Brembo to buy Ohlins for $405 million. Mercedes EV sales crash 42%. 7-Eleven to close 400 locations. And Kinder Morgan gas pipe is blocked by environmentalist. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day because he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Brembo to buy Ohlins for $405 million, which is quite a pretty penny. And if you're a gearhead, you've probably heard of Brembo since they've been making pretty much some of the best brakes since the wagon. Well, they're not that old, but you get my point. Now, this comes to us thanks to Beverly over at thedrive.com, where they say, quote, Brembo has purchased Ohlins for $405 million. If approved, the deal would be Brembo's largest acquisition to date. There you can see a nice little motorcycle right there with a little Brembo brakes along with the Ohlins logo, which, I'm a little biased, but I think the Brembo logo looks a little bit better. Now, they say specifically, quote, Brembo signed an agreement to buy Ohlins, considering it two worlds colliding, but in the best way possible. Renowned for performance brakes and components, Italian-based Brembo has negotiated the purchase of Swedish-based Ohlins Racing, a leader in performance suspension systems, from Tenco. Tenco itself is managed by Apollo Global Management, which, yeah, if you ever heard of like a venture capital group, they're a very common name. They include sports balls teams, or for a while they actually owned part of the Texas Rangers, I believe, as well as the renowned place of pizza, as well as rats, Chuck E. Cheese, or CEE Entertainment, which is also their legal name. So that's not too surprising. They also own this as well, or at one point. I say Brembo will make a cash payment of 370 million euros, which their monopoly, I don't know what that monopoly money is. Well, no, I do. In our monopoly money, that is 405 million American dollars. Brembo CEO Matteo says, quote, Ohlins is a strong fit for Brembo. It is a world-renowned brand with a solid business and unrivaled reputation, both on track and on the road. He also continues saying, again, this is the Ohlins CEO saying, quote, as we join forces with Brembo, we are excited to unlock new growth opportunities and leverage our respective strengths and assets to drive innovation and deliver even greater value to our customers and employees. Well, let's see here. Now, the only caveat to this is, like a lot of these larger deals, once you get to a certain point in business, as well as market share, start to get a little bit more government scrutiny. Now, in this case, they say, quote, the deal still has to go through regulatory approvals. Already, Brembo says it should close in early 2025. Up to this point, motorcycle components made up approximately 13% of Brembo's total revenues. If the acquisition is any indication anything possible in the results, also be a big hit with motorcycle space as well with this additional partnership, which, in terms of buying complementary business to actually, expand your sales and your footprint when you're working with manufacturers, this would be a pretty big one. Again, Brembo, they're like the best known OEM brake company, bar none. If you buy like a really high performance sports cars, more often than not, they'll have the Brembo brakes on there, even when they're, not always branded with their logo on it. So to actually buy a suspension company that's of the same tier, seems like a pretty good idea, especially once you consolidate. Now, I'm not sure if they'll consolidate operations or sales representatives or support, but again, let's say there's a lot of cross-selling that could be definitely an upgrade, especially let's say Brembo is already doing a deal with Cadillac to have new gigantic calibers the size of your foot on it, which pretty darn good stopping power. But for already in the conversation, or more accurately, motorcycle company, well, if you already have this conversation with one company, pretty easy to bring in their partner, the new part of the team, which when I worked at corporate America, Hewlett Packard Enterprise used to do a lot since, again, they had kind of separate divisions for servers, storage, and networking. So if you already have a conversation with one area of the data center, pretty easy to say, hey, got my networking coworker here. Why not talk to them and see, how much better it could be than your Cisco in this case? And sometimes it worked. So I suspect that'll be pretty good for these two manufacturers. We'll see how Europe is in terms of, striking it down for antitrust or anything in that regard. But, it seems like a pretty good business move to, superb quality parts companies. But let me know, and out of curiosity, a lot of my motorcycle friends have heard of the suspension company, but, not a lot of my gearhead or petrol heads have. But let me know in the comments, have you heard of them before? Do you think it'll be a successful acquisition? Let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Mercedes EV sales down 42% as people, turns out they don't want them. This after Mercedes also said, the new Mercedes AMG CEO said, well, maybe instead of having handcrafted V8 engines, customers want tech, which is hilariously, comically, mentally vacuous, also known as stupid, because, again, AMG started as a, third-party independent company, handcrafting, basically making the V8s even more, even higher quality, more performance-oriented. Mercedes eventually bought them out. Now you have the AMG line of Mercedes, which was renowned for handcrafted performance engines. Now the same might go to tech, and Mercedes usually knows what they've been doing. They're the oldest, most successful car manufacturer ever. I mean, they're still around, still in business, and they do some good things. Wish most of their cars had 3 pedals, especially the GT. That should be default, but I partially digress. When it comes to the EVs, they tip their toe, or rather, they rolled their tire into the lake of EVs, and it turned out is to be shocking, but not in a good way. Now this comes to us thanks to the good old Motor1.com, which they specifically say, quote, no one wants Mercedes EVs. U.S. sales of the company's electric cars are down big time for third quarter 2024. Again, it's 42%. There you can see one of those abominations to engineering, which, granted, you know me, every car I would ever hope to own will have 3 pedals, also known as a manual transmission and a good old, internal combustion engine. Currently loving my Honda Civic Si with a turbocharged inline-4 engine. Hope to someday have a V8, even a V10 or V12 someday. But yeah, in terms of styling, gosh, something about these grills just looks like such a bastardization. Because again, you don't need an actual grill for the airflow to get to the engine because there's no engine, there's electric motors. But they still have like the decal for the grill for the Mercedes car, and it almost looks like a bastardized Tesla. They have it's somewhat similar curves, and they sold a few in the beginning, but it turns out the sales figures are crashing like a Boeing airplane, which that company's not doing well great either. And they say, this is again thanks to Brian, who's right over there, specifically Brian Silvestro. They quote, Mercedes isn't having a great time in its electric lineup of vehicles. The company has reported U.S. sales for the third quarter, revealing yet another 3 months of failing sales for, geez Louise. I don't like this when any car company does it, including BMW and even Cadillac, which they don't have a name for the car, they just have a nomenclature. So instead of like a Cadillac Sienne or something like, they have the CT4V Blackwing, which I can only memorize because I aspire to own one because, turbocharged, stick shift, V6, then, CT5V Blackwing's a stick shift V8. That's rare, and I hope to have it someday. But even then, I think it's disappointing when they have these uninspiring names. So these are the EV Mercedes. Let me know, does this inspire like a cool thing to own? The EQB. Sounds like a Call of Duty acronym or something. So you got the EQB, the EQE, then the EQS, which to me is just utterly disappointing. What do you drive, Johnson? Oh yeah, I got the EQS. I mean, you got the POS, Johnson, the POS, the car that won't last more than 10 years. And good luck having software support and battery support when those inevitably go bad, years down the road. But I partially digress. They say, quote, sales of those 3 nameplates are down 40% for Q4 2024, from 9,984 cars sold last year in the same period to 5,769 cars this year, so they sold 5,769 cars this year, which is 5,761 cars more than I thought they would sell during this past fiscal quarter. Because, again, it's a Mercedes EV, which, I don't think so. Now they say Mercedes doesn't break down the sales by body style, so we can't tell whether the SUV versions of the EQE and EQS are faring any better than the other sedans. Either way, things aren't great for the EQ brand, which, I don't know who thought of that name. EQ? Terrible marketing. Terrible. So uninspiring. Like, even just having it's kind of a cop-out, but even just saying Mercedes EV, that would at least help the people who have no idea what you're talking about. This, you only know what it is if you're a diehard enthusiast. Yeah, like a Mercedes EV, or just MEV, like Mercedes EV. Like, even that's simpler. Then add some stupid extra letters on there. But yeah, the EQ brand. Right. And I say, quote, this quarter has been a bit different than Q2, when the smallest EV of the bunch, the EQB, which, how do you know that unless, the EQB is the smallest. Come on. Got healthy sales boost in springtime. Still, all 3 car sales are down year over year, with the EQS being the worst offender, losing 50%, ouch, of its sales compared to the same time period last year. Which, gosh, it looks so uninspiring. Let's look at the, oh, there's some fun statistics on the screen. Oh yeah, look at all the car sales, and oh, that's funny. Well, to me, yeah, a lot of the ICE engines are doing good. The GLC is up 62%. That's really good. The SL's down 78%. The EQs are down 20%, 50%, 29%. Or sorry, 20%, 50%, and 15%. Which, and again, I only know the Mercedes GT by name just because it's, well, it's also the simplest of all the letters. Has, but one of those things with that car looks iconic. And also has a V8 as, they should all have by default. Should also have a stick shift. Come on, Mercedes. I know not every customer out there wants it, but there's a couple that really appreciate that. And I think it increased sales by a little bit. Now, it's also one of those brands that go, oh yeah, we're gonna go all these short. I don't know. I think they're short-sighted or just, I don't know, they were just trying to appease some government regulators. But I mean, a lot of these car companies said, oh yeah, we're gonna go all in EVs by 2030, 2035. And yeah, the consumers started to put the brakes on that pretty quick as the adoption rate of EVs has really dramatically decreased throughout the past couple of years, with the fastest growing consumer interest area being hybrids, which right, I'm not a fan of, but that's where a lot of the market seems to be trending in the United States, especially, which, again, Toyota called it because that was one of the few automotive companies that said, we're not going to go in all EVs. We're going to spend, I think the allocation of their research and development fund was about 7 times more on hybrid technologies versus the EV technologies, which they read the room right. And they actually are nice to consumers. They give them the option for a stick shift for several of those fun little sport cars they make there. And even the truck. The only truck in North America left with the stick shift is the Toyota. The good old Tacoma. It could even come in green. So, again, I'm not a paid ambassador, but geez, of all the car companies, I kind of like them. They're up there in terms of my favorability just because they actually give the consumer the option of the stick shift, which is a rare thing these days. But I partially digress, though, just for now. Now, they say, quote, Mercedes understands things aren't going as planned for EVs. The company admitted earlier this year it was too enthusiastic about the electrification goals before scrapping its large planned EV platform, originally set to debut in 2028. In May, CEO Ola Kallenstein confirmed that it would pivot from a similar strategy with BMW's approach, offering EV and gas-powered versions of the next X-Class instead of a new EQS, which, as my memory's not bad, I still remember from a couple minutes ago when that's one of the names for the abominations of engineering at Mercedes. It's the EQS. It's one of their EV models, which, of all the things I have to store in my head, hopefully I forget about that soon enough. And they say, quote, Mercedes-Benz were the only big losers this quarter. The E-Class just 2 years ago with big refresh is down 51% over the same period. SL convertible is having even worse this year, dropping 81% in the same time period. So not doing great overall, those as well. And again, there's even more competition for EVs, even though, I mean, when it comes to Tesla, there's a lot of controversy these days because Elon loves freedom of speech and he's more bombastic, energetic, and outspoken than other, pretty much, I was about to say than many, than pretty much any CEO these days, if we're being honest. So that's turned away some people away from Tesla. But you also have some other, folks coming out there. GM just passed Ford Motor Company in terms of EV production. So if you like to drive your car once a week and have it 6 days in shop and go that route, I'm only partially kidding. But yeah, they have lots of recalls. But nevertheless, do you think, will things turn around for Mercedes? But when you think of Mercedes, I don't know, at least from my perspective, I always thought, high quality, handcrafted, German engineering, one of the most, the oldest brand out there, the oldest company out there, Daimler Group. It was never EV and tech, which again, I'm not saying the market does not exist. I'm just wondering how much are you deviating from your core foundation of a company, which you do have to adapt, but is it, if they went all EV, well, first of all, they go out of business because pretty much any company would at this point. But do you think the average Mercedes buyer, and granted, demographics do change over time, do you think they'd really prefer to have an EV Mercedes? Of all the EVs you can buy out there, is there a bigger compelling reason? Do you think it's more luxurious than competition? Are you willing to pay that extra price point? Let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, 7-Eleven is closing over 400 locations, which is interesting. I thought the only things more prevalent than 7-Eleven locations were Starbucks and grains of sand in the desert, because darn near can't go a couple blocks without seeing a 7-Eleven these days. But it looks like they're going to start decreasing the headcount of those stores. This comes to us thanks to the Daily Mail, which appropriately named is called the Daily Mail because it's about the Daily Mail. But one of those things was also done by Lauren Action Taylor. She says, quote, popular convenience store chain 7-Eleven is set to close over 400 locations. There you can see the iconic 7-Eleven logo, which, their claim to fame back in the day was open 7 days a week for 11 hours, which, at the time was it's kind of cool to think now, but at the time it was revolutionary. No convenience store did that ever. I mean, shoot, back in the United States when you had more of a religious foundation, most every store closed on Sunday, and a lot of stores, I mean, the stores are actually closed by sunset. It's fascinating and a little disappointing to see kind of the cultural business shifts around, businesses these days in the United States, where the only companies that really close on Sunday these days are ones that are very much religious oriented. I think off the top of my head, I can name Hobby Lobby. And then, of course, you do have some laws around, automotive companies or dealerships where they call them, forget this specific vernacular, but a lot of them are only allowed to operate 6 days a week. So a lot of them choose Sunday to be closed. But yeah, some rarer and rarer things these days. Now, they say, quote, the parent company of 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven and I Holdings, based in Japan, announced that the chain will close about 444 underperforming stores across North America. 7-I found that part of their earnings report that varied issues changing in consumer habits, resulting in store closing. They said that pullback in consumer spending has persisted beyond prior expectations, unfortunately. Well, there you can see one of those iconic store angles there. Now, it's noted that their earnings report revealed that inflation was one of the major influences, saying that from 2019, geez, this is heartbreaking, but it's true. Since 2019, rent, utilities, and groceries and fuel have all risen more than 25%. Which, yeah, remember when the U.S. was energy independent for the first time in 60 plus years? Gas was under $2 a gallon. Those are the days. It's funny. Not on the calendar that long ago, but feels like a lifetime ago. Now, they said that, quote, in their earnings report, they noted that, quote, the North American economy remained robust overall thanks to the consumption of high-income earners, despite a persistent inflationary, elevated interest rate, and deteriorating employment environment. In this approach, there is a more prudent approach to consumption, particularly among middle and low-income earners, they added, which I would guess in terms of demographics of who shops at 7-Eleven, it's not exactly millionaires, since, especially for people who are penny pitchers, including myself, the only scenario where I actually go to a convenience store is if I'm with a client, or that's about it. If I had a client or a business partner, they wanted something to drink, I'd of course, facilitate their need. But yeah, one of those things where you look at the cost of convenience, and everyone knows it, but I don't think people actually statistically look at the delta, the difference in price points, going from a consumer bulk purchase to like a 7-Eleven individual purchase of a product. It's so insane. And I don't think I've actually gone there like alone in a couple decades. Like if I have a road trip where I'm, working on the road, I just take 5 extra minutes to throw some ice in a cooler, throw that in passenger seat, and throw in some coffee or protein bars in there and call it a day. Which of course you buy those in bulk at the good old Walmart or any big major box store. So yeah, and especially these unprecedented economical, political uncertainty in the United States, there's nothing you need in a convenience store. Literally nothing. It's literally just like, take a little bit more time in your day to plan, and you can avoid paying the premium for all the things that are inside those stores. Again, when it comes to gas stations, they don't make hardly any money on gas. I believe it's even less than 2% profit. It's all about the convenience, all about the things inside, which are much more profitable. Now they say, quote, consumer habits began focusing more on quality of products or less, revealing consumers report, revealing that 69% of shoppers wanted more quality products and 60% focused on good value for the money, which, again, when you're paying for convenience, you're paying that huge premium because it's right there and then. They say, quote, the report revealed that traffic in North America locations has fallen 7.3% in August after the company experienced a consecutive 6 months of declining traffic, which, geez, that is a death trap for retail. One of the biggest metrics for every retail establishment is getting people in the door, because, shoot, that's half the battle these days. There's a combating e-commerce. And another issue is, how many people are getting in? What's the return of the foot traffic? I mean, even Starbucks is struggling with that past couple of fiscal quarters, and hopefully the new CEO will be able to successfully turn things around. But yeah, when the foot traffic drops that much, that's rough. At 7.3%. They said that the company also noted a shift in cigarette sales, which saw a 26% decrease in total packs sold from 10,300 million in 2019 to 7,600 million in 2024. Now, they noted that the decline was not saved by consumers opting for different options, with only an 18% shift to other nicotine products and other buyers switching to more cheaper products, which I know pretty much, it seems like for a New York Minute, every darn podcast on the planet over the summer is sponsored by Zyn or subsidiaries Zyn, because that's all they freaking talk about, those little things, which, to each their own if you prefer those things. But yeah, in terms of cigarette sales, the United States is dying. It's a dying industry. Dark humor, pun somewhat intended. You just look at all, and it's not just one cigarette manufacturer. It's not just 7-Eleven. Overall, smoking rates in the United States is sharply declining of traditional tobacco products. In other countries, they are greatly increasing. So overall, that industry has been overall okay, especially they're requiring, I mean, it's kind of funny. Look at Altria, which is the biggest brand or holding. It's the cool hip name that's behind RJ Reynolds and all basically other cigarette brands you see at the store. I mean, their whole website is smoking alternatives. That's their mantra of what they brag about, and they're making huge investments in those other things. And I mean, those things are going viral. But yeah, it's interesting to see the shifts in the United States in terms of tobacco preferences. And the bad thing about that, especially for these stores, is those are, they used to be pre-consistent buyers and pretty good profit. Because again, these stores make basically no profit on gasoline. It adds up in the aggregate, kind of like groceries. They only make 2% for that industry. It's rough for a traditional grocery store. But again, over time, the aggregate, it does add up. But when it comes to individual quick purchases, they want the convenience to stuff. They want to go inside their, like there's no tomorrow. So to see, and it's interesting, it's not pivoting to the other non-smoking tobacco products to pivot from it. So it's also indicating that people are just decreasing that purchase category in general, which also makes sense. It's one of the easiest things to cut during hard times, just economically. No one needs tobacco. I understand it's an addictive substance. I know it can be very difficult to quit. I'm not trying to downplay that in any means necessary, but it's one of those things where you definitely don't need it to survive. It's very easy to. It's one of those things where you look at your budget and like it's not food, it's not water, it's not rent. That's something where you just take it out of Sharpie, or shoot, it's a tough economy. The off-branded, Walmart branded Sharpie, just scratch it out of the budget and put that money somewhere else. Now, they know that while there's 13,000 stores across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, the closures have, I'm sorry, I should have said Canada. The store closures made up only 3% of the portfolio. The chain has over 21,000 stores located in Japan, which, yeah, it is, it's just almost unfathomable how many locations there are in Japan. I mean, I almost wonder how many other stores are there. There's so many of them. Now, the spokesperson for 7-Eleven told the Daily Mail, aligned with our long-term revenue growth strategy, we continually review and optimize our portfolio to deliver convenience where customers know and want it. As part of this, we made the decision to optimize the number of non-core assets that do not fit with our growth strategy. At the time, we continue to open source in areas where consumers are looking for more convenience. They know that the closures are expected to deliver $30 million in operating income benefit this year and $110 million boost to annualized run rate, according to the earnings release. Which, part of me also debates. I mean, how many of these locations are competing with each other? GameStop was notorious for this a couple years back when, I swear you'd have a GameStop across the street from GameStop. It was almost that comical. And one of the reasons GameStop was close to many stores throughout the time is they were just oversaturated. They opened way too many stores, and they were literally taking sales away from each other. Now, in this case, kind of interesting. Look at the comments here. One of the first comments said, this comes from someone by the name of Just Another Voice. He says, quote, I virtually stopped going to 7-Eleven because of the service issues. Several had no coffee or cold coffee in the carafes. The machines are supposed to make fresh coffee or espresso were out of service. I got 94 upvotes and 5 downvotes. Which, yeah, of all the things I expect to have at 7-Eleven, I would want hot coffee. It'd be like the number one or number 2 thing I would expect from a convenience store. I mean, how would you having cold? I mean, that's just unacceptable. Having cold coffee, like, and we're not talking about iced coffee. It's a different category. Like your hot drip coffee is cold. It's almost a joke that McDonald's has no ice cream. They have like 13 working ice cream units in North America. Like you expect it not to work if you go to McDonald's. But if you go to 7-Eleven, you expect that thing to work. It's like the core of what they do. You want that coffee. Yeah, someone by the name of Step Cold Trip says, is underperforming actual code language for those located where stealing is so pervasive that the stores are losing money in areas like California? Well, yeah, that's a good point as well. That got 485 upvotes and 28 downvotes, which, when you don't prosecute crime, you get a lot more of it, and that's the reason many businesses are fleeing California like the plague. And a lot of them just cannot make a profit there, as well as the issue of having to worry about customer as well as employee safety. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a contributing factor to some of these locations. But yeah, it's very interesting to see 7-Eleven pivot away from these. Overall, I suspect maybe in a couple of years the numbers will increase as it put. I do have a sneaking suspicion these are stores are cannibalizing each other's sales. And it's very unfortunate because a lot of these employees they're losing their jobs. Hopefully they're able to find gainful employment with competitors in the short term or very soon. But I remember I think the last time I went to 7-Eleven, I think I was in Austin for a work road trip and I filled up the car with gas. I'm trying to think of the last time I actually went inside a 7-Eleven. Let me know in the comments actually. When's the last time you actually went to 7-Eleven? Did you actually enjoy an experience? And is it one of your favorite, if not the favorite convenience store? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Star Wars will have a trans stormtrooper, and including a trans flag, as they apparently continue to deviate from the core message of Star Wars and lean into the controversy, even after the CEO said, oh yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. How Bob Iger sells a job is beyond me. Brilliant, in terms of work ethic. He started sweeping floors at ABC way back in the day and worked his way up all the way corporate ladder to CEO. And he built it up. He left. Then Bob Chapek took over. Then Bob came back, and day one, he's like, all right, we're going to get out of politics, get out of controversy. Which, again, North America, this is a very controversial thing, especially this particular programming. This is like a cartoon. It's, aimed towards kids. And yet, they continue to lean into this. And yet, in spite of losing money every time they do a material that's controversial. I mean, how Kathleen Kennedy sells a job is beyond me. Now, this is first reported by Tom over the Daily Mail, in which they say, quote, Star Wars unveils a first look of its first trans woman stormtrooper called Sister, with armor in the color of the transgender flag. Which we'll get a visual on screen. For a second, I thought it was Predator from the Alien vs. Predator movie. But, no, apparently no, it's this new stormtrooper, which we'll get into the nuances of how mentally vacuous this is in terms of the intellectual property of George Lucas and how it makes no sense. But we'll read the article first. They say, quote, Star Wars has introduced its first transgender stormtrooper, a move that has left fans of the beloved Star Wars sci-fi franchise divided. The name Sister, which that's not really a name. It's people have sisters, but their name, what? Granted, maybe I don't have much ground to stand on in that regard since my name is Topping, but I partially digress. They say, quote, name Sister, she, do they mean he? Wait, was it a trans woman? Yeah. Oh, whoops, the video's now not on YouTube. Another reason to tune in at rumble.com, where freedom is always there, and they don't take down my videos where I critique certain politicians or bring up lawsuits around certain things that are in certain vials, etc., etc. But they say, quote, it is clad in armored painted with blue and pink on the transgender flag and pictured for the first time in a new book released earlier this week. The dreadlocked sporting soldier first appeared in a reference article in 2022 at Queen's New Hope, but 4 years later depicted in fan art, which, fan art's fan art. I'm not going to critique. That's George Lucas. You could sue them if they try to sell it, but you really can't critique that too much in terms of the business, shutting them down, so to say. Now they say, her story and the picture will be featured in Star Wars: The Secrets of the New Clone Troopers, which added her to the franchise official lore, which, I'll get into the nuances of Star Wars. I know a little bit about the good old Leonard Nimoy and Kirk. That's a pun or a joke, because, I know it's a different franchise. But nevertheless, weren't these all supposed to be clones of Jango Fett or one of the Fetts? Boba, Jango, whatever the guys is. So they're all supposed to be this biological man. They're all supposed to be the same thing. So maybe the Empire is they're paying for the surgeries? I mean, the U.S. government's doing that for our military, so maybe. I mean, this is supposed to be for the future. Maybe that'll be the standard. They say, quote, but the new character's addition has left fans of the galaxy very far, far away saga split, which has been branding it as utterly insane, gender cult worship, moronic, while others raging it was batshit crazy. Which, you can see the armor. Looks like someone looks like it has bastardized futuristic Crocs as well for boots. Which, I don't know about that. They also say, quote, oh, sorry. I remember Star Wars used to be about, space wizards, epic adventures, and lightsabers. Now it's gone to craps as one person on X. Now, looks like the rest of it is just critiquing it, so we'll actually go to the good old X Twitter. Now this comes from Sue Libs of TikTok. She says, quote, breaking Star Wars unveils a first transgender clone named Sister. Captain Rex says Sister is one that expressed her gender identity differently than her fellow troopers, and she had to hide who she truly was on the inside. So they gave her the name Sister as a constant reminder where she belonged. I mean, for a second, I thought this was an article or the advertisement for the U.S. Army, since I'm pretty sure they pay for this as well. Now, this went pretty well. I got 1.1 million views and 10,000 likes. The first one comes from Valentina Gomez. Says they're turning everything gay. These F words have to stop saying indoctrinating our youth. Getting 4.6 thousand likes. Jeez. And Disney is kind of becoming a meme in and of itself. Liberal Cat Media TM says, oh, for F's sakes, will this be next? And especially a large African American man, and it says Disney Little Mermaid. 3.4 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says Star Wars already ruined this by ruined. So this is like shitting on shit. In 1.2 thousand likes. Upnomics says make it stop. And so what is the Swiffer girls? Yeah, it was Taylor Swift's girlfriend or boyfriend looking guy for a while. But the guy's on the Chiefs, one of the sports ball teams. He's yelling at the coach, and his the guy yelling, the sports ball guy, the Travis or Tyler Kelsey, some girly name. He's labeled LGBT propaganda, and the coach is feel bad for that little coach. He's got this player yelling in his face, and he says, "Me just trying to live my life." I got 2.9 thousand likes. Whiskey Hell says, "Wait, they're clones. Oh, never mind. This is Disney screwing with things yet again." Got it. Getting 1,000 likes. So there's an AI image of C-3PO and R2-D2. And this from Final Cut title says, "Star Wars is terrible now." And C-3PO is saying, I'm fluent in over 6 million genders. They got 2.4 thousand likes, which, what was it? The Accolade, which, that failed epically. And the director of that said that they wanted to make men feel uncomfortable, and they thought that the robots were gay. I'm not being bombastic or putting words on their mouth. They literally said that in an awkward interview, which, yeah, people say I'm awkward sometimes. That interview with the Accolade director was the most awkward thing ever. Drew Noble says, instead of Luke, it's Lube Skywalker puts the Force in forced. I got 915 likes. Olia says it's over, and it's a stormtrooper, this time regular stormtrooper. But no, it's got the trans flag painted on the armor. It says, "What agenda?" Getting 462 likes. Ray says, "Damn it, they're going RoboCop. They got RoboCop too." And someone did a Photoshop with RoboCop is now African American man for the head. It says HomoCop. Got 759 likes. Pumpanovic says, "No, not again." And it says Netflix presents polar bears and it's black bears. Got 1,000 likes. Let's see. Any contrarian statements here? Someone has a picture of George Lucas apparently saying, look how they massacred my boy, getting 191 likes, which, Jesus, in regards to Senior Legacy being utterly decimated and destroyed, I can't imagine how bad George Lucas feels. Like, all of his ideas just crapped on. Like, was it really worth the money, George? Like, I know he wanted to spend more time with the kids and pass this on and have the story continue, but I mean, Disney has done what I thought was impossible. They made the newer Star Wars from like the 90s, 2000s eras look good. That's how far they declined, where they just copy paste the same. It is just that bad at Disney. They achieved the unachievable. I thought it couldn't get worse than when they had Jar Jar Binks and Christian Hayden and the other guy. Ewan McGregor did do an exceptional job acting, but the whole story, the dialogue in the story was so bad. I thought they were bad back then. Now I think they're worse on art in comparison. And I don't know who. They're expanding their market. So, don't get me wrong. Some people will watch Star Wars just because they are doing this. Now the question is, business-wise, as well as morality, well, business-wise, will this make you more money? In places like San Francisco, yes, the number of people watching Star Wars will probably increase by 10 times, maybe even 15x. Maybe they'll have screenings at the park in San Francisco. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But in terms of the average American, the average prospective client, and keep in mind, a lot of parents are still, in the United States, it's a huge cultural debate of transitioning, and even in that community, they have debates on, what's appropriate or what's, what they consider. Is it drugs? Is it a scalpel? There's debates in debates when it comes to this topic. Now, most average parents, and I know parents that on all sides of the political aisle, as this has also become a political issue in the United States, but there's a lot of folks where they just want to have their kids watch something without having stuff crammed down their throat and having controversial things shoved in their face. It is, I believe, the number one reason why Disney is crashing like a Boeing airplane. It's just, they make more and more things that are controversial. The stories have become so diluted and rudimentary. And of all the jobs AI could do good, I would say AI should just take over Disney. It couldn't get much worse. And shoot, I had the Fast and Furious franchise to that as well, as they just copy paste more and more. Almost like it. Fast and Furious, as well as Disney in general, reminds me of a fun experiment. And I was going to say, it's one of those things where if you take a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, every time you do that, the image degrades, which I think is a very accurate metaphor for Disney. They used to be considered a blue chip stock a couple decades ago, which is a financial term where You knew you weren't going to get rich overnight. It wasn't going to spike up like a tech stock necessarily, but you knew throughout history it was a stable company that continued to grow and provide good returns. And now, I mean, Disney stock is, geez, that thing fluctuates up and down, up and down, up and down, and the sales for the movies continue to go negative. It's terrible. So they don't seem to be turning the ship around. They say they are. I mean, Bob Iger, when he came back, said, "Hey, we're getting rid of all the controversy. We're not going to sue, Florida anymore. We're not going to get involved in things that aren't to our core business." And yet, they clearly do not. And in a true ironic twist, like many businesses are creating their own competition. You have companies like Daily Wire making kids cartoons, and things are more devoid of controversy, and they're growing exponentially. So I'm not sure what they're thinking of doing at Disney, but they drove away a lot of their internal talent when they had different ideologies. So a lot of the people who were less controversial or less extreme at Disney, they've long been kicked out of the company. So I'm not sure how they can rebuild it, or even if they want to. But yeah, let's just say I don't think this is going to be a prudent business idea. I think they're going to probably lose money on this, as it's really controversial in the United States, and especially in the short term. I mean, we see demographics, you see trends and consumer preferences and everything changing throughout time. I mean, I don't think this is going to be. I really debate if this will ever be a positive ROI for Disney in this direction. But let me know in the comments. Do you think this is a good, prudent business move? Do you think they'll increase their sales because of it? Let me know, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, Kamala Harris went on a sex podcast called "Call Her Daddy," and funny enough, the blunders are actually getting more views than the original content. And their ratio, or rather the ratio of the original one, is so negative in terms of likes, dislikes. Actually makes my show look phenomenal in comparison. So there's that. Now this comes to us originally thanks to End Wokeness on the good old X, which he says, quote, "This is what Kamala Harris is doing while bodies are still being found in North Carolina, a sex podcast," which, yeah, it is fascinating to see. And again, this gal who has her own podcast is extremely successful. It's one of the top podcasts out there. She's, multi-millionaire. And in terms of, what things do you want to talk to Kamala about? Want to talk about perhaps the implications of capital gains tax increase, taxing people on things taxing people on things they don't already own, taxing people on certain business taxes. I mean, you're a very successful entrepreneur. You think you want to talk about that? Nope, not at all. So no one's too surprised. This is one of the most popular highlights. It's only about 30 seconds long, which admittedly is probably longer than most people want to watch the Call Her Daddy podcast. Well, most people, because mostly mentally vacuous. But we'll hear what they have to say. Let's see, looks like apparently a lot of people are making fun of the host of the show because she actually, I don't know if she deserves an F- or a negative score in terms of her fashion acumen. Now, granted, she normally, I guess, says barefoot and just kind of laying around the office in sweatpants. In this terrible amalgamation of fashion, the interviewer, the host of the show, Call Her Daddy, she has heels on, so okay, that's professional. I approve. When I suit up, I always have my fancy dress shoes on. All right, more accurately, my clean Cole Haans. She has dress pants on, and then she has a purple sweater. Like the weirdest combo of fashion I've seen in many years, which is saying something. And then you have Kamala Harris over there. I wonder if she has the earrings that are the size of Volkswagen. A lot of people think are microphones. Or her $70,000 necklace. But let's hear what they have to say.
Just, daddy gang, to put it in our TikTok terms. I have seen girls on the street walk up to men and be like, "Do you know where a tampon goes? Do you know how many tampons we use? Do you even know how, do you know what a X or Y or Z is of a part of our," and they don't know the answer.
I was the first vice president or president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic.
You mean an abortion clinic? That's the average American probably doesn't appreciate that. Though, again, for her demographics and her show and Kamala Harris's average voter, they probably do applaud that. Remember at the DNC, they had an abortion mobile outside the convention center in Chicago. Also gave vasectomies away. They went from safe, legal, and rare to here's a bus you can do it right outside the convention, which shows how extreme they become throughout past couple decades. Quite concerning. Now, it is funny they mentioned, men don't know anything about tampons, all this kind of stuff. Well, this is coming from the party that cannot define what a woman is. I would have loved to have been one of those people they've asked, do you know where these go? I would simply ask, did you assume I'm a man? They would ask them to define a woman, in which they would pontificately be, they would actually know the opposite. They'd be unable to articulate or pontificate anything because, again, they cannot define what a woman is. And this short little clip went pretty viral, got 4.2 million views, as well as 45,000 likes, which, yeah, in terms of moves on political chessboard, maybe this does help Kamala because, again, the IQ level, the average audience of a sex podcast, when you think about, things parties are affiliated with and what they care about, I mean, the average female voter for the selection of her demographics, the podcast host, they don't really care about the border or the economy. The number one thing they care about is abortion. Which, again, Kamala is very much pro-abortion. I mean, Tim Walz, former governor of Minnesota, they allow it all the way up to birth. And even after, in the case where it's an botched abortion, they make a decision, so to say. Which, yeah. So for them, it might reinforce reasons. It make sense to talk on a sex podcast. But, yeah, so not something you see most suited up politicians doing. I wonder how many people in the kind of, libertarians or politically alienated folks in the middle are going to see this and go, well, now I want to vote for Kamala. Now it seems like a great idea. Or does it just further galvanize people who are already going to vote for her? Maybe they're more confident now that she's reinforced her positions in that regard. But let's go to the comments. Let's see what people have to say. Scrolling down, the first one comes from Mr. Bigglesworth Memes, which, A+, they did in fact respond in meme form today, saying, quote, she's terrible, she's not going to save America like Trump would. This picture of Trump, it says, if Trump was going to hurt America, he would have done it during his first term. There's a picture of Kamala, says, if Kamala was going to help America, she would have done it in her first term. That got 878 likes. Mr. Bigglesworth Memes also says, look at this disrespect. This picture of Kamala says, when your belt costs more than what you're giving hurricane victims. Looks like, what kind of belt is this? Which is, gosh, such a waste of money. Maybe I'm just frugal. Last time last belt I bought was 10 years ago. Which, yeah, I'm also a guy. I don't think guys really. I think you can give them as a gift every 10 years from like family members. You get a nice leather belt. But, geez Louise. So Kamala apparently is wearing a belt that cost, maybe this is list price on a car, so who knows if they actually paid this. Talk about, I guess it's an appropriate name for the belt. The buckle is in the shape of an H. It's called the Mini H Belt Buckle, and it's reversible. Ooh, double the value. It costs and this is a company name or brand, Hermes, costs $770 for a belt, which is a great metaphor for politicians and their lack of fiscal responsibility. Which, again, there are some Republicans who are, they spend money like there's no tomorrow as well. Don't get me started. But geez Louise, a $770 belt. Are they just trying to rub it or like just spite Americans? Be like, we don't have to try to relate to it at all anymore. Like we're just gonna lean into it. He also has that necklace that costs more than a Corvette. Like it was a $77,000 necklace. Which, geez Louise, I can't. So much money on jewelry is just to me so mentally vacuous. But partially digress. I did get 1.1 thousand likes, and we do have some contrarian statements brewing to the surface. Paul Zupa says, quote, Kamala Harris has no shame. She's vile, getting 445 likes. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, Kamala Harris is a disgrace, getting 900 likes. We also have this very suspicious gentleman, apparently human. His name is, the hashtag is for human unity. Ironic, he's a leftist who posts a lot of hate about Trump, but he wants us to unify. I say he's allegedly a human because his profile picture, looks weird. Granted, how much ground to stand on, but his name is human. He has a peace sign, American flag sign, or American flag emoji, Ukrainian emoji, another American flag emoji, and a blue wave emoji. And he says, let me expand this out a little bit. He wrote a little bit of a paragraph, but I'll read it. He says, what a load of absolute rubbish. Harris has been in front and center of the hurricane recovery. She's made several trips to the state, evaluating the damage firsthand, sat through briefings, and made federal aid flowing. A sex podcast, seriously, this episode tackled crucial issues like, oh, jeez. Sorry, I said that, not he. I'll try to read it completely. He says, seriously, this episode tackled critical policy issues like reproductive rights. But you cherry pick the one clip and downplay the entire conversation. That's dishonest. Politicians constantly juggle media appearances and crisis management, and twisting her priorities represent her relentless focus on disaster relief. Remember, was it $750 per family? But we just gave $8 billion to Ukraine like a week before. And $340 million to Libya, which not to be pejorative about, if you went to American public school, I guess I wouldn't blame you. Most people can't point to that on a map. And we're getting almost $200 billion total to Ukraine, which, granted, this also cash is, physical armament and other physical things. But yeah, granted, mentally vacuous human, but he did get 19 likes. I do laugh when they say reproductive rights because, again, for this election, I mean, the number one thing when they're talking about when it comes to reproductive rights, quote unquote, is abortion, which is a big topic in the United States. People on the left and the right use it to raise funds every campaign cycle. But again, that's been relegated to the states. So the president, when it comes to that particular topic, it doesn't matter who gets in office. Unless they want to override the Supreme Court or pack the Supreme Court, or, well, I guess they've threatened to do that as well. But again, it's relegated back to states. If you want to have abortion up to 9 months plus, you can have that. They have it in Minnesota. If you want to, if you're more, pro-life, you think life begins at conception, you think there should be more limitations, you can go to great, places like, Florida, or some might argue the great state, or some might argue the great country of Texas. Again, if you want to make change, go to Hobby Lobby, get some nice high-quality poster board, and peacefully let your opinion be known. I mean, gather some signatures and let your local representatives know. Because, again, it's a state's issue. It is so dishonest that they're using this, especially on the left right now, to get people to go vote and donate to Kamala Harris. Because, again, the Supreme Court has spoken. I don't know how many times we need to drive this home, but literally does not matter who's in the White House. If Trump wins, nothing's going to change in that regard on a federal level. He's reaffirmed that multiple times in addition to legal precedent we already have. But again, that being said, Mr. I can't help but think this has to be a robot. His name is human. That just seems too suspicious. We'll say this alleged human did get 19 likes, which is yet another reason or a reminder to like this video to see if we can get more likes than this alleged human. Going back, let's see here. Well, we'll see who responded to human. Steve, again, these are comments responding to this alleged human, says, "This is the perfect example of why social media needs tighter rules. These accounts should be banned." Getting 2 likes, which I don't think they should be. More speech, the better. More different thoughts and opinions, the better. Let the best ideals brew to the surface. Let's have a debate, even if this person is just trolling. DB says, DB1776 says, quote, "Everyone outside of Team Blue knows that Kamala does photo ops and fake rallies. She's an empty suit for the regime. That's Obama, and that's really running FFS. He's on record saying he'd love to be in charge from his basement, speaking through a front man in the earpiece." Fact check, true. He said that a couple years ago. It's kind of funny to see it come to life. Kamala Harris also, during these recent town halls, he pretended to answer questions from people in the audience. He's reading off a teleprompter, so the questions were, of course, pre-planned, and her responses were canned as well. That's why every time you see her in an impromptu, which again is very rare, they usually keep her locked away behind closed doors. When she actually gets in front of a camera and has to improv or be authentic, I mean, her speaking acumen is worse than mine, which is saying something. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. So pretty much all the comments were ratioing the human, not by number of likes, but the number of comments. Going back to the main comment section, we also have, let's see. Florida 1 says, "You think she might be interested in funding FEMA as Florida is about to get another Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane." It's a quote from Mayorkas where they warned that FEMA might not have enough to make it through the hurricane season after they spent $640.1 million on illegals. Again, Biden, he has a couple quotes that I think are true. Biden once said that if you want to see what someone cares about, look at their budget. I can't agree with Biden in that regard, because when I look at the U.S. budget, how much goes overseas, countries we can't even point to on a map, and how much little money stays here to help us, I can't think our politicians don't give a damn about us. And there are some on the left and the right who do that to us. Yeah, billions for other countries, couple million for the hurricane folks. Also, all these countries you keep giving money to, interesting how none of those countries have offered to help us with this hurricane. None of them have offered aid, flown in materials, flown in supplies. I mean, just for PR alone, they should be. I mean, that'd be a smart move on the political chessboard. And yet, nope, they couldn't even be bothered to help. Well, let's see. We'll do 1 or 2 more comments. Western Lensman says her contempt of the victims of this natural disaster could not be more clear, getting 1.1 thousand likes. Spitfire says she is an epic disaster. No one with a functioning brain would vote for her, getting 3.7 thousand likes. Well, she should also add, or be alive. There's a lot of dead people who, interestingly enough, do get out the vote. Anti-woke memes, good name, they did in fact respond in meme form. Said Kamala Harris should be ashamed. There's a picture of a little girl crying with a puppy in a hurricane. It says 175 billion for Ukraine, 310 billion for Israel, 574 million for Taiwan, $750 for her, getting 540 likes. Let's see here. Perhaps one of the best juxtaposition of 2 pictures. Anti-left meme says deport every last illegal alien immediately. There's a picture of a broken family, a family surrounded by broken materials in the hurricane. and it says $750, and it's just positioned with a picture of an illegal alien flipping, using both hands to flip off the camera. It says $2,500, which this individual, this illegal alien, assaulted police officers. I believe it was in New York, and then they released him. Was it on like no dollar bail or $0 bail? And then he's just flipping off the cameras and he's being arrested. Of course, they let him go. Yeah, $2,500. I think it's $2,500 per month. Why did he pay taxes again? They also got 567 likes. So, yeah, Kamala Harris is going on. She's going on a lot of talk shows past week. But I can't help but wonder: is it really helping her, or are they just doing it so they can say, "Oh yeah, she's gone on interviews. She has been locked up the whole time or hiding the whole time." But let me know: do you think overall did this help Kamala? Did it just kind of just further galvanize people's opinions about her? Did it really change their hearts and minds? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news: you have California blocking SpaceX launch over Musk political beliefs, as we have more lawfare. Fascinatingly enough, it's never against people who are on the left. Interesting coincidence, I'm sure. Now, this comes to us thanks to Doge designer, who is actually responding to a Los Angeles Times article, which somehow is still in business. It's hard to imagine most anything existing in California these days with how many businesses they push away. Now, Doge on X says, quote, "Breaking: California rejects SpaceX rocket launches, with officials citing Elon Musk political posts on X." Which, again, saying the quiet part out loud, there's been political discrimination, for decades, or since the dawn of politics to be invented. But yeah, to say it out loud that this is a contributing factor of why we're not allowing this launch, that, again, I'm not a lawyer, but that sounds like an easy lawsuit to win with Elon. Now, the specific article from the Los Angeles Times, the headline says, quote, "California officials reject more SpaceX rocket launches, with some citing Musk's X post." Now they say, quote, "SpaceX plans to launch more rockets from the California coast, was rejected by state commissions last week, with some officials citing Elon Musk's political posts on X." And we're pretty well. Got 1.6 million views as well as 6.3 thousand likes, which, they've already pushed away a lot of businesses. SpaceX, as well as X Twitter, or as more and more people are just calling it X, relocated out of California the past couple months because of Gavin Newsom's new law about schools being able to hide things from parents, like sexual identity with the children and transitioning and such. Which, for parental rights, that's just, yet another reason not to trust the public school system. If you're trying to hide something from parents, it's creepy, unacceptable, and disgusting. Reason number 9,958,735,003 to homeschool your kids if you have the resources to do so. Now, going back to the comments section, the first one comes from Cass Loren, says, quote, "California is full of California. Leave when you can," getting 218 likes. Costello says, "Really? That's pretty totalitarian of them, getting 528 likes." Yep. Wall Street Silver says, "California is crazy," getting 631 likes. Ashley St. Clair says, "What a joke," getting 796 likes. Darn it, Planet of Memes, they did not in fact respond in meme form. But they did say, quote, "That's a loss for California," getting 288 likes. Let's see here. Mary Martinez says, "Politics have no place in granting permits. This makes me so mad. It is as bad as lawfare. It is. Democrats cannot keep putting party first, not if they want to represent the country." 189 likes. Let's see. Parker says, "California will delay the progression of mankind because their feelings were hurt." Got 399 likes. Yep. Amber Dean says, "It's time to just move everything out of California," getting 129 likes, which, look at the trends. More businesses have left California than any other state the past couple years. Fascinatingly enough, when businesses relocate, they always go to places that are, good for business and people, with low income taxes, low regulation, like good old places like Florida, as well as some might argue the great country of Texas. Yeah, even tech companies are moving out of California. Who are stalwarts. Like, they would, wind back the clock 10 years ago, they would never dare to leave Silicon Valley or any there. They might outsource a couple things like their sales divisions, but to actually move headquarters and more resources out of state, wind back the clock 10 years ago, they would have laughed you out of the room. They would say, "There's no way Hewlett Packard Enterprise is going to leave California. There's no way Oracle would leave. There's no way CrowdStrike would leave." They all left, and they went to good old Texas. The largest companies on the planet, Tesla. And again, California, they lost Toyota a couple years ago as well. Also coming, they both went to, guess, right? Texas. See, we'll do two more comments here. Joey Mariano says, "He can just take it to Florida. No one wants to launch a pile of human crap anyway." Yeah, 161 likes for that. California, yeah. Instead of picturing the cultural or law issues around why they have a culture in California where people defecate on the ground. They decided to come up with an app on your phone where if you look at the map, you'd be able to know this is where the human fecal material is and avoid it. However, the volume was so large that the whole map was just brown because that's how the cultural decay of California there. When you don't enforce the laws of agriculture, it's decayed quite. I mean, theft is so bad they actually lock cereal and deodorant behind plexiglass in like the CVS and Walgreens. That's how bad California's gotten. Let's see here. Any country? I don't see any contrarian statements thus far. Don't get me wrong, there's some people who love weaponized government. They're probably cheering on California for doing this. I'm not seeing it in the comment section thus far. But, yeah, given California and how they've been just pushing Elon more and more, I mean, one of the officials in California literally like told Elon to go F himself. And that's one of the reasons, one of the contributing factors he moved Teslas, because the politicians are treating him so poorly, which also just shows to show you how quickly, if you get into politics, you'll be quickly ostracized by many of your social circles. I mean, before Elon ever touched politics, I mean, wind back the clock when he first started Tesla, first couple years, made it successful, California worshipped him like a god. They loved him. He was the green mean machine. He was helping save the world. And now they viscerally hate him. So, yeah, if you ever really want to see your true friends, get involved in politics. I can't help but think everyone, including myself. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people flake away. But yeah, no reason not to do business in California. I can't help but wonder, how long he'll still be able to operate there. Because again, you do have those launching sites. But how long can you realistically have a business there and make a profit? Let's say I'm pretty skeptical, but as always, time shall tell. Other interesting political news: you have Tim Walz fumbling to try to load a shotgun. As many question people, does he have any mental intellect or even own a gun? As he previously claimed, he was a gun owner. Which, yeah, I should clarify. Tim Walz is very much pro-gun, but it's the government to only have guns, not you and I. Remember during the vice presidential debate when they asked him, well, hey, you've spoken about gun confiscation before. What would you do? And his response was, oh, yeah, I'm a gun owner. And, of course, the moderator did not push him or actually have him clarify, well, Kamala Harris has said, if she doesn't get her way in the first 100 days of being president, she would, ban guns and go for confiscation. What would, they didn't, Of course, moderators did nothing, of course. That was just obviously comical. Now this has come to us thanks to Jack Poso on X, and he says, quote, oh my God, Tim Walz does not even know how to load his own gun. He lied about being a hunter too. Which, yeah, when it comes to this type of hunting, you typically, debatably, most people are going to use a pump shotgun or over-under. If there's like duck hunting, I mean, yeah, a lot of people use a semi.
Yes, that's my theory.
There you can see Tim Walz dressed up like, it looks like Elmer Fudd in this picture.
Yes, that's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
How do you get it back? You don't know how. You have a malfunction on it. Supposedly, first of all, loading a shotgun is one of the simplest things to do. There's only a couple ways you can mess it up. And don't get me wrong, malfunctions do happen from time to time. Usually not on a kind of gun that he's using. Usually on his, it's the Remington 870 Express past couple years. Thanks to that company being bought and sold more than anything, quality's declined more than a Boeing airplane. And they found a way to make a semi-automatic, a pump shotgun jam, which is a testament to poor manufacturing at Remington. I may or may not be bitter about a purchase I made in my lifetime. But go back to Tim Walz attempting to load this and apparently not knowing how to clear a jam.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Yes.
That's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits.
So you can't hit. He found a way to. He found a way He found a way. It's almost unfathomable. Or he found a way to make a Beretta unreliable. Which, again, those are traditionally pretty nice shotguns. They cost a pretty penny. Don't get me wrong. And pretty sure the one I use at the rental when I go, because it's better than mine. So I'll usually rent a 12 gauge if I'm at a customer event. And yeah, those. I think I've jammed maybe once past 4 years when we're using it. And those are rentals, so they get the abuse the hell out of them. They got a high round count. And he found a way to jam it, and he doesn't even know how to load it, which is so comically inept. So I guess, again, we should not be surprised. Now, going to the comment section, went pretty broad. I got 7.6 million views, as well as 62,000 likes. One of the first ones comments comes from Wakey Wakey saying, that's all, folks. It's a picture of Elmer Fudd, the cartoon character, looking oddly reminiscent of Tim Walz. Though I would argue Elmer Fudd had more integrity and more intelligence. That beloved cartoon character, which again they destroyed by taking away his gun. Was it a couple years ago? Bastards at Warner Brothers. Try to rewrite history again. Now that juxtaposition of those two pictures got 3.4 thousand likes, which, yeah, that outfit was not the best choice, Tim. Granted, he's made bigger mistakes in his life. Don't get me started. Let's see. I'm a little biased, so I'm going to read a comment that responded to him. This commenter is quite handsome and brilliant. He's me. That's a joke. Hey, remember, follow me on the X at hashtag #TheToppingShow, which I said, quote, nah, Elmer Fudd was smarter. They got 14 likes. Oh, jeez. Abe Lopez, author says, all apologies, it's a Venn diagram. And it has a, jeez. So the Venn diagram, the two circles, one circle is Kurt Cobain, the other circle is Tim Walz, and the middle where the two circles meets is use a shotgun at once, which, 593 likes for that. A little dark humor there, which, a lot of people debate, did Kurt Cobain really pull the trigger or was his partner? But I partially digress. Scrolling down more and more. Yeah, what's wrong with you? Planet of Memes did not again respond in meme form. A little disappointed. This alleged Planet of Memes says, quote, what hasn't he lied about? Getting 396 likes. Scrolling down. Oh, jeez. The internet's a hilarious, funny, beautiful thing sometimes. The Democrat Media TM responded with a laughing emoji because they did a Photoshop. There's Tim Walz holding a giant tampon. Getting 111 likes for that little video. Which, again, this is the guy who thought it was a good idea to put those in young boys' washing rooms. Scrolling down more and more. Laura, her name is Laura, Women for Trump, says the only thing he knows how to load is Tim Walz holding a Photoshop, so he's holding a giant tampon, getting 3,000 likes. Adam Oni says, I guess I would call him a school. Jeez. He says, I guess he should call his school shooter friend for tips, getting 2.1 thousand likes, which, yeah, it was another weird blunder he had during the vice presidential debate, where he said he made friends with a school shooter, which, a wise man once said you could judge a man by the company he keeps. It's interesting Tim chose that. May says he looks like a drunk Elmer Fudd, getting 3.3 thousand likes. Ray Wilson says, a military man that cannot load a shotgun, dude is fake, getting 1.5 thousand likes, which, don't forget, Donald Trump saw more combat than Tim Walz, because Donald Trump was actually shot at. Going down more and more. Jeez. Charlotte Johnson says, tap on Tim to the rescue. And he's getting that Photoshop. It looks like he's trying to cram them into the shotgun. Got 433 likes. There's a couple of those memes. Another one got 961 likes from Mike Sacramento, says, I was able to zoom in. And it's a picture of him loading a Photoshop to show him loading a tampon into a shotgun. Hunter Eagleman says, quote, beta male trying to do alpha shaking, 778 likes. See, any contrarian statements? Anyone sticking up for Tim Walz? Sully says, this comes to mind. It's a picture of Dick Cheney holding a shotgun, getting 366 likes. Which, Phoenix says, pathetic. It says, haha, you dumb mother effer you, getting 190 likes. Captive Dreamer says, we also saw this coming, guys, a total phony, getting 240 likes. Which, someone else says, remember this Photoshop POS? It's Obama holding a shotgun, getting 481 likes. Which, yeah, I'm not seeing any contrarian statements. Not seeing anyone pick, oh, this is a good meme. So, X for your mind says Elmer Fudd. It's the, vice president VP debate where you have JD Vance looking at the camera like Jim Halpert from The Office going, they have Tim Walz looking like a deer in headlights. And under those pictures is JD Vance, so that's got, Bugs Bunny holding the carrot. And the other picture is Elmer Fudd looking befuddled, getting 574 likes for that. Let's see if we can make it larger for the screen there. Which, yeah, not sure this is winning. I can't imagine who's he trying to appeal to this, because no hunter is voting for Tim Walz. I mean, no one who owns a gun, presumably no one who owns a gun or cares about the Second Amendment is voting for someone who wants to get rid of it. None of them are voting for Tim Walz. Maybe one or two people who aren't. It always blows my mind. There's some people in the gun community go, well, why do you need anything more than a shotgun? Well, first of all, I'm American. I don't need to justify, my God-given rights. But also, if they've ever read a history book, they see as soon as they ban one thing, they ban everything. I mean, the slippery slope is no longer a theory; it's a fact. So, and I guess wouldn't this piss off people who are far leftists who don't want anyone to hold a gun, and now he's holding a gun and hunting, which again, there's some people who don't even like hunting because they don't realize where food comes from. But I don't understand what Tim Walz. I mean, in terms of movements on the political chessboard, what does this do? It doesn't make him look masculine. It doesn't make him look intelligent. I mean, he found a way to jam a shotgun and then not know how to clear it. So again, if you own a gun, depending on what brand you get, there's a certain percentage of odds that it will jam. It'll happen. It's a rare thing, depending on what manufacturer you get, but that could happen. But in that rare occasion, you know exactly how to fix it. And yet he he didn't know how to load it, then he didn't know how to fix a jam. So that's 2 strikes of ineptitude of firearm ownership. The only thing I wasn't, I guess we should probably just be surprised he didn't point it at someone too, just to have the trifecta of mentally vacuous things you can do with it, in terms of just flagging someone. Jeez, you almost can't make this up. So let me know in the comments. I don't know who this is trying to appeal to or how this is going to improve his numbers in the polls, but interesting to see him fail yet again. And let me know your thoughts are in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news: you have the Department of Justice suing states for removing illegals from their voting rolls, which, yeah, we knew, I don't know, a lot of people thought this was a parody. Nope, it's actually happening, and at this point, I don't think we should be surprised. This comes with thanks to Greg Price over at the good old X, when she says, quote, breaking, Kamala's Department of Justice is suing the state of Virginia because they removed non-citizens from voter rolls. Yes, this is real. Kamala's DOJ is suing Virginia because Glenn Youngkin removed people from the rolls who were legally barred from voting in American elections. And the article, well, it's a little bit too small to put on the screen, but I'll pull it up here. Now it says, Justice Department sues Virginia for violating federal laws prohibiting systematic efforts to remove voters within 90 days of the election. Washington. The Justice Department announced it has filed a lawsuit against the state of Virginia, Virginia State Board of Elections, and Virginia Commissioner of Elections to challenge a systematic state program aimed at removing voters from the election cycles too close to the November 5th general election in the violation of the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, boringly called acronym-wise NVRA. Now they say, quote, Section 8C2 of the NVRA, also known as the Quiet Period Provision, requires states to complete systematic programs aimed at removing the names of eligible voters from voter registration lists no later than 90 days before federal elections. The Quiet Period Provisions applies to certain systematic programs carried out by states that are aimed at striking names from voter registration lists based on perceived failure to meet initial eligibility requirements, including citizenship at the time of registration. Politicians hate our country. That's not in there. That's my comment. The last paragraph says, quote, as the National Voter Registration Act mandates, officials across the country should take heed of the law's crystal clear and unequivocal restrictions on systematic list maintenance efforts that fall within the 90 days of election, said Assistant General Attorney Christian Clark of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. By canceling voter registrations within 90 days of the election day, Virginia places qualified voters in jeopardy of being removed from the rolls and created a risk of confusion from the electorate. Congress adopted the National Voters Registration Act quiet period restriction to prevent error-prone 11th hour efforts that all too often disenfranchise qualified voters. Yeah, let me let that sink in there. I should have a pin to use as a prop to drop on the table. Let that pin drop. So they're worried about, disenfranchised qualified voters. People who are legally here, are they qualified voters? Precisely, no. It's one of the few things we get for being taxpayers. Not that we get much these days in terms of a benefit. Now, and being an American citizen. They say, quote, the right to vote is the cornerstone of our democracy, and the Justice Department will continue to ensure the rights of qualified voters are protected. I mean, what's the benefit of actually coming here legally and doing everything right? Your taxes are sent overseas to help out with countries you can't point to on a map. When it comes to humanitarian aid, it goes pretty much everywhere but here. Hurricane victims basically nothing. And you used to be a benefit of being a citizen here that no one else got. You got to vote. And yeah, it looks like that's not even an exclusive benefit anymore. They're saying, oh yeah, and interestingly enough, we covered this throughout the whole calendar year. The amount of people who are registering illegal people who are increasing their voter registration, exponentially jumped the past 60, 90 days. So imagine all you have to do is wait till like 89 days before it, register every single one of them, or do it right before that, and then they just, oh yeah, they can't get rid of them. Even if you could prove they're here illegally? How does that make any sense at all? It makes sense if you want to cheat, but in terms of, modesty, integrity, morality, the Constitution, founding fathers, how does that make any sense? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Now, I was going to say thankfully this went viral, but at this point, I'm not sure if it really matters, because even if every American realized this was happening, is there any real recourse? Doesn't really sound like it. Now, did go moderately viral, got 1.6 million views and 34,000 likes. One of the first comments coming from Cash Loren saying, quote, there is only one thing, or only one reason for Democrats to want to weaken election laws, getting 535 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, they're complaining because it's happening within the 90-day window before the election. If someone is known for not allowing to vote, why on earth should it matter how close to election day they're removed from the rolls? It only matters when they're trying to cheat, getting 757 likes. Precisely. Justin Kelly says, quote, I've been told that the same DOJ, that the executive branch has no role in state election law. Good point. Getting 1.6 thousand likes. Scrolling down more and more. Larvin, not trying to mispronounce her name intentionally, I believe that's her name, Spicer. She says she's a communist and hates the nation, getting 213 likes. Simon Van Dyke says this is a plan they've had since 2020. They know if these people are on the rolls, votes can be cast in their name, and it's not likely to be found out because being barred from voting, they won't be trying to vote themselves, getting 272 likes. J. June, the Destroyer, says, so Donald J. Trump really might win Virginia, getting 161 likes. Hello, I'm Kelly Joe, says Kamala can't win without cheating, getting 629 likes. JD Sharp says she's about to lose in Virginia, getting 570 likes. Ellie says, imagine that, being sued for following the law. For removing people who aren't allowed to vote in our elections. Absolutely clown world we live in, getting 507 likes. Fact check, Drew. Let's see here. Oh, we do have a contrarian statement, so we had to scroll a little bit to find it, but we did find one thus far. Someone by the name of thank you, Joe Biden. That's her profile name. How much is she getting paid? Thank you, Joe Biden, for what? She describes herself as a livid introvert, though she's tweeting. Also, she's a democracy fan, creative INFJ, animal advocate, forgotten Gen Xer, there is no planet B. Followed by a lot of leftists. So yeah, I'll give her a follow just to keep Evan's contrarian statements brewed to the surface so you get, echo chambers get a little bit boring. She says, how much is Russia paying you to lie, or do you do it just because you're MAGA, quote, moron? Mentally vacuous, but she did get 211 likes. See, scrolling down more and more. Christine Campbell says they don't care. Who knows? They'll cheat to win. We need to share this everywhere to make it a huge story, getting 59 likes. Guy King says they will find a corrupt judge that will allow illegals to vote, getting 67 likes. Certifiable MAGA, pretty good name, exactly the political perspective, says, quote, what part of you have to be American to vote? Do they not get getting 106 likes? Let's see. I need more contrarian statements. Andrew Flowlett says, literally, if you don't break the law, we will sue you, getting 66 likes. Sharon Palmer says, Glenn Youngkin is the wrong governor to mess with. He will not back down, getting 22 likes. David Westerlem says, come on, man. Well, it's kind of funny. Every time you hear that, certain terms kind of just think of a person. Come on, man. That's kind of like Trump with China. Every time I hear come on, man, I think of Biden like, come on, man. He says, come on, man. How are they going to win if they don't rig? Getting 31 likes. Let's see. Charlemagne Habert says, Democrats don't want the names removed from the voter rolls because how else are they going to send the fake ballots based on the registration numbers? Getting 86 likes. Let's see. So a couple of contrarian statements, but overall, kind of major consensus in terms of how on earth is the federal government doing this. But at the end of the day, we'll see what actually happens. Let's just say I'm pretty skeptical to see, any upside to it, or if anything actually, anything comes to fruition that actually resolve the issue. But let me know at the end of the day. A lot of states try to do the right thing, and Texas was sued by the federal government for defending our border, which is so evil and mentally vacuous it can hardly comprehend it. But let me know in the comments, what do you think the end of the result is going to be, and how much of a swing or how much of an impact could it have on the upcoming election? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Kinder Morgan gas pipe on hold due to environmentalist, which, I'm not sure who they're paying for their lobbying or what they're doing to convey to the public this is a good thing, but yep, it looks like it's on hold for now, which is ridiculous. This comes to us thanks to Reuters. So they say, quote, U.S. court puts on hold permits for Kinder Morgan unit to build Tennessee pipeline, which, why reduce the cost of oil, make it easier for us to all get? Who would want that? Jeez. Now, they say, quote, U.S. Appeals Court put on hold approvals and permits necessary to allow a Kinder Morgan subsidiary to construct a 62-mile gas pipeline in Tennessee at the urging of environmentalist groups, which, not sure, why are they still listening to these people? I digress. The proposed Cumberland project, set to be constructed by Kinder Morgan's Tennessee gas pipeline, could transport 245,000. Now this is new unit of membership or measurement. Decatherms per day of additional natural gas to power supplier Tennessee Valley Authority. The Cincinnati-based U.S. Court Circuit of Appeals put on hold Tennessee Department of Environmental and Conservation's order issuing claiming a water quality certification. The Army Corps of Engineers issuance of the permit. It's funny. People always wonder why is gas so expensive. Why you can't blame the president or the government for being expensive. It's completely independent. When you regulate every single part of the manufacturing, refining process, and you tell them where they are or not allowed to drill on federal lands, one of the largest areas. It kind of has a huge impact on the price of gas. Now they say, quote, the request for the stay was filed by environmental organizations Appalachian Voices and Sierra Club, which I had no affiliation to Sierra Mist, a delicious drink from the 90s. Kidding. Which claimed that the pipeline's construction could be detrimental impact to the environment. The court said it has stayed appropriate for the time to consider the merits of the environmental group. Kind Morgan's spokesperson said the company does not agree with the court's decision, which it will continue to review while evaluating other options. Let's see. So, not great news. Which, again, business blunder here is just, well, I was going to say, I'm not sure in terms of why are you not just giving them a mountain of evidence of previous successful performance of the company in terms of building, high quality construction pipelines and having a little to no negative environmental impact. But again, they're just blindsided by this, and the environmentalists stop this company from getting this pipeline and getting, more affordable fuel for the folks over there because they cited, oh yeah, it might not be good for the environment, might be. Well, if you have a long successful track record of successfully building these apparatuses and building these things, I would think, unless it's an activist judge, they would say, well, we understand your concerns, but this company's long history. Here's ABC projects that were very similar. We think your concerns are, not well grounded. And granted, I know this is one of those complex things where, there's many variables in terms of lobbying, in terms of, protecting evidence, working all these different things. But the fact that they just got this, blocked, and again, it's just for now, we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, can't really think Kyler Morgan should put some more evidence and fought a little bit quicker for this. We'll see what happens in the long term, but still gotta say Kyler Morgan, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make sure better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.